everybody, Gina is back to show you all how easy it is to make a delicious sweet potato cake. This recipe, I've never made it before in my life. So together we're gonna see how good it tastes. Everybody's asking me, Gina, have you made a sweet potato cake before? I've never made it. I had to come up with a concoction, a recipe, figure out how to make it, and so we'll learn together, see how it turns out, and at the end of this video, I'll let you know if it's good or not. Here's the ingredients you're gonna need. You're gonna need some flour, okay? So we'll be using 2.5 cups of flour. I don't have it here, but it is over this way. I'll show it to you all. I've already measured it out. It does not have to be sifted. This is an all-purpose flour. You're gonna need some buttermilk, okay? And the buttermilk will go in our icing and it will also go into our cake, okay? You're gonna need some sugar. You're gonna need some pecans, and you're gonna need some fresh sweet potatoes, okay? And we'll talk about how I prepared the sweet potatoes to put them into the cake. You're gonna need 3 large eggs, 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. We will need 2 sticks of butter for our cake, and for our icing we'll be using 4 sticks of butter and powdered sugar. You're gonna need some spices to make everything taste delicious. Salt, just a little bit, baking soda, baking powder. You're gonna need some cinnamon, allspice, and ground ginger. And you're gonna need some vanilla. Make sure your hands are impeccably clean. Let's get started with this amazing recipe, Gina Young style. I couldn't be more excited to show you all how to make this recipe. So here's what we're gonna do. First thing you need to do when making a cake, you need to cream your butter and sugar together, of course. So now, with this recipe, you're gonna want to make sure that your butter is room temperature for the icing and for the cake. So what I've done is early this morning, I've taken the butter out and I've just set it on the counter. Don't put it in the microwave to, get it room temperature. Don't do that because you'll melt it and then you'll mess the recipe up. So I have 2 sticks of butter we're going to put into our mixer. And listen, I'm working with the stand-up mixer today. You can use a handheld mixer if you'd like. It would turn out just fine. Okay, so let's get our sticks of butter right in. And then we're going to put in 2 cups of sugar and we're going to cream it for 5 minutes. Like my grandma Lucille would always say, cream the butter and sugar together until the sugar becomes nice and silent. And if you have patience, you'll see that the sugar will get nice and silent. In the beginning, you can just hear the granules of sugar making lots of noise. Okay, so here we go. Let's turn this on to a low speed. Just let it cream for 5 minutes, just like so. Everybody has been asking me to make this cake. I tell you what, I'm excited and I'm curious how it tastes. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I've already measured out my flour and I've leveled it off, making sure that I have a correct measurement of 2.5 cups of the all-purpose flour using a butter knife. So I take the butter knife on the measuring cup and I do like this, just to make sure this measured out. Okay, so we're going to use a teaspoon of the ground ginger. If you love ginger flavor, then by all means you can put more. Okay, so let's put a teaspoon in. I know how to eyeball it, so I know exactly what I'm looking for. Then we're going to put a tablespoon of cinnamon. We're going to put a tablespoon, or you can do a teaspoon, of the ground allspice. Allspice is really going to make this recipe feel like the holiday. If you wanted to back up a little bit on the ground allspice, absolutely you can. We're going to put some salt in there. When you put salt into your recipe, you really bring the recipe to life. It's just going to be just a pinch, okay? Just really a pinch. Okay, so let's get that in there. Just like so. I hope you all are having a great day today. So when it comes to the baking powder and the baking soda, we're going to use 2 teaspoons, okay? So now, I don't know if you all know, but this little lip right here, that lip helps you to measure it out perfectly. See that? So there's 1 teaspoon baking powder. There's 2. Perfectly measured out. We're going to do the same thing with the baking soda when I come back. 1 teaspoon baking soda, and then 2. I just kind of use my box, the top of the box, to measure that out correctly. And so we're going to take our whisk and we want to really whisk everything up just like so, making sure that everything gets well incorporated into our flour. And then when I come back, we'll take a peek in at our 2 sticks of butter and our 2 cups of sugar. Make sure they're nice and creamed. And what you're going to see when you check in on it, you're going to want for your butter to get, it almost gets like really bright in color, nice and smooth. So now I wanted you all to take a look in at the cream butter and sugar and what it should look like. That's pretty much what it should look like. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to begin to put in all of our wet ingredients. And our wet ingredients consist of 1.5 cups of cooked sweet potatoes. What I've done was I peeled 2 large sweet potatoes, okay, and then we cut them down and we boiled them. Don't salt the water, just boil them for about 20 minutes until they're nice and fork tender. How you can tell when they're fork tender is you're gonna just take a fork, stick it into the sweet potato, and if it goes in with these and it comes out with these, then it's nice and fork tender. So I've drained it very well, and here we are. One thing that you don't want to do is you do not want to put hot sweet potatoes that are hot in temperature into your cake mix because you'll destroy the cake. Okay, so these sweet potatoes have cooled down, okay, because a couple hours ago we actually cooked them. I'm going to take this handy dandy masher, mash them up just a little bit, okay, and then the mixer will do the rest. But I do want to chop it up just some, okay? And I guess if you wanted to, you can use the sweet potatoes that possibly come in the can. You know, there's like a sweet potato puree you could use if you wanted to. Sure you can. Okay, so I'm going to chop this up. And then what we're going to do when we come back is we're going to add 1 large egg at a time into the butter and sugar mixture while the beater is going around. So once 1 egg gets mixed up, then we'll add another egg. And once that one gets mixed up, we'll add another just like so. Go ahead and crack our eggs, 1 egg at a time. I'm going to crack it into a separate bowl. That way we can make sure that our egg is nice and fresh. And also we can make sure that there are no eggshells. Let's go ahead and put that in, just like so. Pretty simple, right? Every recipe Gina Young shares with you all, it's going to be simple and it's going to taste good. All right, let's go in with our second egg. And we can wait a couple minutes until that other egg gets completely incorporated, and then we'll add this one. Go ahead and throw it in. I want you all to take a look at what it should look like. Let's put that last egg in there, get it well incorporated, and once that last egg is well incorporated, and before you put your sweet potatoes in, go ahead and take a nice soft spatula. Always take the time to scrape the sides down. So what I do when we put the video on pause, I go in and I scrape the sides. I just want to remind you so you can make sure all your ingredients are well incorporated. Put about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you're like me, you're going to put some extra in there. Extra's always better. It always tastes good. I love the aroma from the vanilla extract, and the taste is extraordinary. Okay, so now that we have that in, let's go ahead and add our 1.5 cups of sweet potatoes that have been cooled down. Make sure, I can't stress it enough, they have to be cooled down. Okay, I'm going to have to use my spatula here. If I haven't said, I hope y'all are having a great day. I hope you're having a most splendid day today. I'd love to ask you all something in the comment section. Were you one of the people that asked me to make this recipe? So when you comment today, say, yeah, I was one of them. Because it was just a ton of people, like overnight, asking me. I know, I guess it's been like between last week and the week before that. Gina, have you made it before? I'm like, no. So I'm super duper excited for this recipe. Come on, take a look and see what's happening in the mixer. Oh yeah, this is exciting. Next thing that we want to do is we want to take our dried mixture that has all those amazing spices in it. let's put that dry mixture right into our wet mixture, okay? Just a little bit at a time because we know what's gonna happen. That flour is gonna go poof, and you don't want that to happen, and then you have flour covering you. So as you put the flour in, how about we put, I have 1 cup of buttermilk. Make sure your buttermilk is kind of room temperature as well. Put a little bit right on top. There you go. On top of your flour. Put this back down and mix it on low until it's incorporated. And then once we see that most of it's incorporated, we'll continue just a little bit at a time, and then a little bit of buttermilk until everything's completely mixed. And then when I come back, we're going to talk about what type of pan that I'm using and what temperature we're going to cook this cake on. Some more flour and seasoning. A little bit more buttermilk, just like so. It smells so good right now. And then here's the thing. I'm making icing. I'm going to show you all how I make my famous cream cheese icing. Everybody goes nuts over. I mean, when I make the cream cheese icing, everybody's like, please give me a spoon. And then I'll toss that one in the sink, and then they want to taste it again. And then they want to taste it again. And then if there's leftovers, they're like, do you have more? I'm like, sure I have more, because I knew you were going to want some icing. But you're going to love the icing recipe. So now I just put the leftover flour in. What I want you to be aware of when making this recipe, this is gonna be a nice thick batter. It's not gonna be like a batter that you may make from the box or another batter. Okay, this is a thick batter it's supposed to be. All right, so now I'm gonna put my remainder of that 1 cup of buttermilk. We really made it stretch with the flour. Okay, we're going to mix it, and then in the meantime, between time, I want to talk about the pan we're going to use. We're using 2 9-inch round pans. It's 9-inch and it's round, and so therefore we're going to have a layered cake where we're going to put, yes we are, we're going to put icing in the middle, icing on the top, icing all around. We're going to cut that baby. It's going to be super beautiful. So let's mix this up. Get our cake mix into here, into the oven on 350 degrees, just like so. Let's go ahead and divide the batter into 2 of our pans. And you know how to do it. Just make sure that both of them have equal amounts, right? Pretty simple. Okay. And try your best. They're both going to rise and look beautiful, but if at all means, if you can make them have the same amount, that's what I would prefer. Sometimes it is a little difficult. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees. All right, so now I'm going to show you something that my grandma Lucille told me to do once you get the cake batter into the pan. I'll do that when I come back. What we're going to do is smooth it out a little bit. You want for all of your cake to pretty much, be level. You don't want one side up and one side down because it'll be kind of lopsided. But what Grandma Lucille would say is knock that baby on the counter a couple times, get rid of the air bubbles. And guess what? I found that to be true. It works. It does work. Do you all remember back in the days? Come on. Do you all remember back in the days where your parents, your grandmom, whoever it was baking a cake? And they would tell you, don't open that oven door and don't be running around the house and slamming doors. You make my cake fall. Do you all remember that? I feel like I've heard that so many times in my life when I was younger. I'd be so terrified. I'd be tiptoeing around the house, afraid that I was going to make the cake fall. I got to taste the cake batter. I have to. It tastes good. So now what we're going to do is let's begin to make our icing. 2 cream cheeses, 2 full 8-ounce cream cheese. Get it into your mixer. Okay, you can use a handheld mixer for this. And then 4 sticks of butter. That's room temperature. Make sure your cream cheese is room temperature as well. And we're going to blend this until it's well combined. The butter and the cream cheese is well combined. Let's go ahead and add just a pinch of salt in, okay? If your butter is unsalted, use salt. If your butter is salted, you don't have to use salt. But I've also done this. I've used salted butter and added a pinch of salt, and I still was happy with the recipe. So you decide what you want to do. Okay, so let's put some vanilla in there. Vanilla extract. Oh my goodness. We're going to be using milk as well. Okay, so now I have powdered sugar. Put in a little bit at a time, you know. And then we'll combine it nice and slowly until we get all of the powdered sugar nice and mixed in. Take a look at the icing. I want y'all to see this beautiful consistency. Aha, look, it took it. Okay, so now let's talk about something real quick while I taste this. I wind up using another 1.5 cups of powdered sugar for my icing. So you taste your icing. If you're happy with the 2.5 cups of powdered sugar, then you're good. But if you want to put some more in, absolutely you can. So now as I was putting my powdered sugar in, every time I put a cup of powdered sugar in, I put some milk in. You can use regular milk or you can use buttermilk. Wait patiently on the cake. In the meantime, we got icing right in front of us. Why not taste it? Why not taste it? Because it's so good. Our cakes are out. I put my cakes onto a cooling rack, so you may see some lines. Take a look. You're going to see a couple lines, but don't worry about that. That'll get covered with icing. These cakes cooked in the oven, 350 degrees for about 40 minutes. I took a nice fork, or you can use a toothpick. Go in. If it comes out nice and clean, your cake's done. Okay, so we're going to do a nice plop, so to speak. I like to put a nice amount in the middle, okay? And so we're going to do just that. We're going to smear it just like so, and the other cake goes right on top. Place that. And then we ice the top. We're going to ice the sides. Our cake is nice and iced. This is something that I just thought would be beautiful. And guess what? It's going to taste good. Who doesn't love pecans? If you cannot eat nuts, then just simply leave it out of the recipe. But this right here, my goodness. Listen, if you all enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Tell your family and friends. Tell everyone you know what Gina Young's doing in this kitchen on a daily basis. Heavenly Father, I thank you today for this beautiful dessert. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Look it. Took it. And you know what? I'm so silly. I couldn't even wait for the cake to cool enough, right? To put the icing on. So it's slipping and it's a sliding. But I can fix that. I'm going to put this into the refrigerator so the icing will, you know, kind of set up and it won't melt on me. Look at that. I'm going in. I am going. Take a look. Woo! Take a look, y'all. I'll be right back. Let's take one more look. Let's taste. Oh my goodness. Oh, you couldn't imagine. Take a bite. How good it smells in here. Okay, wait a minute. Wait, it's like a symphony being played on my taste buds. Make you some. God bless. Good night.